is my ringtone on my phone.
It should be.
It is, seriously.
Oh, that is awesome.
On my phone. Hello, Casey Wilson, owner of Roseville Strength and Conditioning and one of your co-hosts of the Do or Do Not podcast. And this is...
Brad Erie, owner of A Broken Heart.
Well, always. Should have played that song. That's a good song from the 80s. Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yeah,
all right, so today I'm dressed in a little more color. This is my Magnum PI shirt. I got my Hulkamania shirt on underneath. So we're going to be talking about our favorite 80s shows, our top 10 list.
Yes.
We each made one. We don't know who's on whose list.
But we know mine is better.
Is the theme song to Magnum PI for all you young people that never watched Magnum PI. As a good
original Magnum.
Oh, yeah, not that bullshit where Higgins and Magnum are sleeping together. I mean, come on. Hot Higgins.
Yeah.
Please. Bunch of bullshit. I mean, Tom Selleck is the only Magnum PI. I'm sorry. But with that being said, that was the Magnum theme song.
Yes, it was.
It may make an appearance on, I'll guarantee it's in my top 10 list.
Yep.
And so that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite TV shows. So here's kind of the parameters him and I discussed.
Yep.
Now, whether he's remembered and stuck to it or not, I don't know. But they're movies that had to be mostly in the 80s. You can have 1 or 2 years in the 70s or, in the 90s if you wanted to, but we tried to be most of our childhood.
Yes.
Our teenage years where TV shows really affected us back then. And remember, back then, there was 3 networks.
Yes.
I mean, Fox didn't even come out to the 90s, did it?
I think so, because they have maybe late 80s.
Late 80s, because Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place was on Fox.
Yeah, Married with Children.
So those came out later in the 80s, but I don't think I have any shows from Fox on there. Although, because they all mostly the successful ones ran mostly after 1990. They may have started early, but they really didn't. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Beverly Hills 90210 was popular like that. So...
The sideburns.
But we tried to keep everything in. Oh, yeah, I had sideburns.
I bet.
What kind did you have? Was it Dylan or Brandon?
I had Brandon's kind of thin ones,
No. Dylan had the thin ones that went down. Brandon had the pork chops.
Oh, then I had Dylan. Sorry, I never watched the show, actually, but I saw that sideburns were in it. And I'm like, got to jump on that trend.
So we're going to discuss our top 10 favorite shows, and these shows were mostly in the 80s. And they're shows that really affected us, and also shows we watched a bunch. Yeah. We didn't just watch them once. You watch them 2, 3, 4 times every episode. Because they go on reruns eventually. Back then, when there was limited amount of TV, there wasn't streaming services out there. I mean, it was just those are the shows you watch. Like, it's not on our list because it started. Most of it was in the 70s. But Little House on the Prairie, I've seen every episode 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Of Little House on the Prairie, because they used to rerun it after school. We'd get home and it'd be like 2 straight hours of Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, it's not like you had a lot of choices.
No, there was a lot of choices, but these are TV shows that really affected us, that we really loved, and that we watched multiple times. So we got some of them will have theme songs too. Some of them we won't. But we're going to be hitting. So we're going to go count down from the top 10. So I'll give my number 10. And he'll give his number 10. But I have some honorable mentions. I'm sorry, I couldn't just do 10.
That was tough. But first, you also have to say no cartoons.
No cartoons.
Because if that would have been a whole other episode.
There would have been a few cartoons on my list.
Yeah, me too.
Because when I was a kid, G.I. Joe.
Oh my God, G.I. Joe,
Transformers. Autobots. Transform and roll for it.
Decepticons. Okay.
I still say, and now you know. And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. So cartoons are not included. These have to be like shows that were on the evenings on network TV.
Yeah.
The 3 main channels on network TV back in the 80s.
Before we start, I just got to say, this is our bare bone look for people who are only listening to the podcast. They're not seeing the bare bone tables.
No Star Wars.
No toys, no gym equipment, no kettlebells.
No.
You're just seeing.
You had to see the Magnum shirt.
Yeah, you're just seeing Casey and his guns.
Hulkamania.
Yeah, throw your little ring up there. You know what sucks
is, this is the ring, the fleur-de-lis ring that Magnum PI would wear. I had a wig in a Tiger's hat too, and I had tan shorts.
Should have worn.
And flip-flops, like for a costume. I went as Magnum PI one year for Halloween to
at least a wig.
I don't have it anymore. I couldn't find the Tigers hat either. I stuck it somewhere and I don't know. And then I also was going to wear underneath this, I was going to wear one of my other favorite shows.
Yeah.
I have a brown shirt that has the symbol for the Fall Guy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was going to wear that, but I think I put it away a few weeks ago. I was doing a bunch of vacuum sealing of bags at my house. I was getting stuff I hadn't worn in a while that maybe were too small. You know, I just get too big.
Too muscles. Too big.
More like my midsection gets too big and I don't want to wear them too tight. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I don't get so much muscle that my shirts don't fit, unfortunately.
No, I mean, I'm thick up here, but then I get thick down there when I'm eating at Christmas time. So,
that I can.
So this is what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
And we will have some theme songs like Magnum PI.
Please don't sue us.
So when we discuss them, don't sue us. And we're playing very shortly. You can play for 7 seconds without there.
Okay.
But I made a little playlist for some of our favorites. So, all
right.
Do you want to start with your number 10? Oh no, let's do honorable mentions first.
All right, you have more honorable mentions than me.
All right, well, give me yours then.
My honorable mentions, I will start from the least to the most. All right, so my last honorable mention, I know, please don't punch me, Magnum PI. I came to this late. I came to it late. But when I found out that you could be a private investigator and have a friend that owns a helicopter.
You did not put Magnum PI in your top 10.
No, my top 10 is pretty tight.
All right. This show might be a short show. Right. I think it might be a short
we're going to have to.
This guy may end up in a bloody pool.
This might be the last podcast
we ever do.
Alf.
Nice.
That's going. That's number 14. I had 5 honorable mentions. Number 13, Growing Pains. That was pretty crazy.
Look. What's the theme song? Alf theme song.
I loved Alf.
Yep.
The guy ate cats, which was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pro dog.
It was very funny. It was a good show.
It was a good show. Then I had Airwolf.
What?
Yeah.
What is in your top 10?
Look, wait do you see the top 10? It's
all right. Hold on.
We're gonna need a fan vote of what's better. Maybe I'll throw up a Twitter poll.
All right. Next.
All right. Number 11. Before we get to this was a tough one. But tough decisions had to be made. Charles in Charge. Now, there's one specific reason why.
I want to hear the reason because I'm very
there.
I can't believe that was even in your honorable mentions. I mean, not that it wasn't okay. Nicole Eggert was
Nicole Eggert. Young Nicole Eggert.
She was cute.
Was one of the 5 reasons that little Brad, turned out the way he did. She was a huge crush, but even her innocent beauty could not force her into my top 10. My top 10 is so suck good.
I think your top 10 is going to suck.
Impenetrable.
Suck.
I could have moved Magnum all the way up to 12, but I thought it'd be funny to get his reaction.
12.
So I could have put it in front
of
You're
getting close, buddy. You want a fleur-de-lis upside your head?
You could.
All right, give me number 10. Oh, no, I got to do my honorable mentions.
Do your honorable mentions. Now, you have more than me.
I have 18 total.
Yeah.
So, number 18.
Okay.
Hardcastle and McCormick.
Never saw it.
You suck. It had a red kit car on it. It was badass. Who's the Boss?
Ooh, that's
number 17.
That's in my top 10. I wonder why.
Over Magnum PI and Airwolf.
Yeah, well, Magnum was hot, but he
has small testicles, my friend.
He is no Alyssa.
Number 16, Riptide.
Ooh. Was that about the boat?
There was a boat that they lived
on. That's right. Yeah. I did watch that. Okay, that's a good one. That's a deep cut.
Number 15.
Yeah.
Sledgehammer.
Oh.
I own the whole there's 2 seasons of it. I have a box set of Sledgehammer.
That was one of the funniest shows.
Hilarious.
I forgot. You know what? Now that I remember Sledgehammer, I probably would have put him in my top 10.
And my mom really did not like Sledgehammer.
Oh,
because the humor was kind of raunchy and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it was over the top.
It was over the top. But as an adult, I bought the box set.
Explain to them what Sledgehammer was.
So there's this guy. He mostly played bad guys in movies.
Yep.
And so he played Lieutenant or Detective Sledgehammer. And he had this big old gun with a big old 44, Dirty Harry, but with white ivory handles. And it was something like Justice. I haven't watched it in a while. Just sits there in my stand. But he was over the stuff he would say, it was all about violence. And it was all about, and it wasn't it was like a funny violence. It was a sitcom. It wasn't
it was over the top.
It was just over the top type, Naked Gun a little bit, to the
kind
point.
Kind of satiring these cop shows. His name is Sledgehammer for a reason because
he settled everything with violence.
With ultra.
He had this big old monster. It was. Really
I just remember there was one thing going on, and he could have pulled his gun, but he pulled out a bazooka, which was just
he
overkill.
His trunk and
and I'm just that's why they call him Sledgehammer.
He was really into guns.
Yeah. That's so good. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
I hope in your top 10 you have something that's going to make me go, oh, crap, I should have put that in.
I don't know. You got a pretty good list.
I researched pretty hard.
I did
Number
too.
14, and former football player Fred Dreyer played Hunter.
Oh, yes.
My dad loved that show, and then I would watch it, and I got really into it,
That's a really good one. Yeah, that's a really good one. That guy had
I forgot about that show. He had a forehead on him. He had that.
He looked like a football player.
He was not he was not like a classically handsome man, because his hair wasn't all perfect.
But that's what Sledgehammer was making fun of.
And then he had a great partner in it who was an attractive woman, but she had that 80s curly hair look.
Well, all of these cops had attractive partners.
Oh, yeah. That's how it was back then.
Hunter.
Remember TJ Hooker?
Yes.
Not on my list, but
not on my list. He's always Captain Kirk to me.
All right. We have one honorable mention in common.
All right. What's that?
Alf.
Okay. See there?
Alf's in my honorable mentions. Number 12. And it was only on for a couple of years, but I had to put it in there because it's one of my favorite shows is Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay, so I kind of bet it's 90s.
It was on for 2 years in the 80s, but I didn't put it in I wanted to put it on my list, except there was 2 seasons of it before it got to the 90s, and I was just like, you know what, I can't put it in my top 10. If there was 4 or 5 years of it in the 80s, it would have been.
It would have been like 1 or 2 to me.
It would have been my top 5.
It would have me too.
Number 11, and this was a hard one.
Okay.
This was a hard one for me because I love this show, but when I think back to when I watch it now and what my memories are of it. Now, Dodge Chargers are my favorite car somewhat because of the show, the old 69 Dodge Chargers. Yeah. But the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yes, that is in my top 10.
Yes, it's number 11. It's right on there.
Yeah.
It was between my bottom 4 between 8 and 11 were fluid. I kept going, this one means more to me.
Me too.
When I think back to memories and feelings shows give me and how much I've watched them, I watched Dukes of Hazzard a lot of times. I know the Duke boys.
Yeah, me
Bo
too.
And Luke, Enos.
Except when they try to change them, and then I dropped them like hot tamales. Do you remember when the Duke boys quit? They didn't show up because they weren't getting paid enough, so they had the new cousins.
Oh, yeah. That was crap. But Daisy Duke, Roscoe.
Roscoe Pico Trunk. Yep. But see, this is an innocent time where I had no idea what the Confederate Flash was.
The dog, the hound dog, Flash. Great show.
That was
all right.
Show. That's why it's in my
top 10. So we're into the top 10. You give your number 10.
All right, my number 10.
Hold on. Let me pull the music up in case it's one of those songs.
Now I'm going to explain this a little bit. This was
this is gonna suck.
There are some shows that I cut off at 15. I could have put different strokes on, but I just.
But it was started in 1979.
Yeah, but this thing kind of goes with it. This was. I would watch this, pretend I was this child. This was my dream.
Oh,
Silver Spoons is number 10.
I actually almost put it as an honorable mention.
It was the guy came in on a little train that went through his house.
Yeah,
like he was rich. He was our version of Richie Rich. Richie Schroeder. It was my dream to be that kid, to have a train that ran through his house and his living room.
But that train was the dad's.
Yeah, but he still would ride him in.
Was it his dad or was it his uncle or something?
I think it was his dad.
Are you sure?
No, it's been that long.
I think it was his uncle. Or
whoever he was living with. Yeah. I assumed it was his dad. But it was rich. Like, he had the lifestyle that I wanted. I think,
wasn't Erin Gray from Buck Rogers in that one?
I think so.
Oh, she was.
She was amazing.
Oh my God, what a smoke show! She's probably 70 now, but
look,
I bet she's still hot.
Wait till you see my top 10.
I gotta look her picture up.
Wait till you see the top 10.
That's your
baby.
number 10.
That is Silver Spoons. You don't have no music to Silver Spoons?
No.
All right.
No.
Now I just want to hear like the 4 listeners we have. Barbara, Matt, whoever.
We have plenty of. We have a decent amount of downloads on.
We do. I think we have 100 combined. If you take your podcast and
the YouTube and the podcast, yeah.
We need someone to say whose list is better. Mom,
people's got to vote. Yeah. We gotta do some voting.
All right. Let's hear you, Ted.
Number 10, The Wonder Years.
Oh, that was a good one too. Good one.
Winnie Cooper made me feel funny things in my pants.
Look.
And she still does when I watch her on Hallmark shows.
She talk about who aged gracefully.
She got out of Hollywood for a long time and went
isn't she like
she went to Ivy League? She went to like Ivy League school. I don't know if it was Harvard or Yale.
Yeah,
but super smart and smoking hot.
Yeah, she went to be like a geneticist or some type of a scientist, and I'm telling you, whatever genes she got from her parents.
Her and Kevin were
I've
watched The Wonder Years was much CTV when it was out.
Yeah.
And I got my kids. My daughter watched the first season of it, but then she got to be where nothing old was cool anymore.
Yeah.
Like she loved Magnum PI, and she'll still watch Magnum PI. If I have it on, she'll watch it. But she's more into watching newer stuff because she goes, look at the screen's blurry.
Oh, I liked it, but you'll see a definite crossover where I leaned more geek than you did, but that was a quality show.
Well, because I was a guy and you were a geek.
I was a geek.
Yeah.
Wait till you see you're probably gonna disown me.
What's that? What was our show? Jocks and Geeks or something like that.
Something like that. Yep.
I was very much more along the jock mindset.
I know, but you're an inner geek with a jock body.
All right.
Let's do my number 9.
Number 9.
Okay. We already said it. Dukes of Hazzard. That was my number 9. That was my Friday nights for I don't know how many years. It came on at like 8 o'clock, and that was like we would watch the Dukes of Hazzard and this other show, then we had to go to bed. Had everything
just a good old boy.
Car chases.
Yep.
Hot women in short shorts.
Daisy Duke, man.
Comedy. I had no idea about the
At that age, I really wasn't like into girls that much, No,
but
you would see Daisy Duke and go, I like that. I really,
not sure why I like that.
I was very, very early in my teenage years, like 12, 13, maybe when that came. No, I think it came out pretty early in the 80s. It started at least early in the 80s.
But who knew? Like, I grew up in a cornfield. I grew up very much in the South, not South, but like in a country. And so like a lot of that was like, oh yeah, I grew up on a farm. I know those little dirt roads. In the car, come on.
Oh, the car was
generally. I came this close about the South, but
my dad and I were looking at one of his friends had a '69 Charger on his property.
Yeah,
but my dad did auto body and mechanic and stuff, so like it wasn't like it was undoable, but there's just a little too much body rust in it. He was just like, it's too much work. He goes, I'm not going to do it. I won't have it'll take me years to fit. And so he goes, I'm not paying that money for that car. But I came that close to having a '69 Charger. That's what I wanted.
What would your
my
life
goal is
been?
Still in life, like sometime in the next 10 to 15 years, is to buy a resto-modded Dodge Charger. That's my goal.
Gosh. And then if you live somewhere in the South, you're just going to run it up and down them roads.
Yeah.
Just woo!
Yep. I can't disagree with that pick. It almost made my top 10.
Yeah.
Number 11 on my list. So number 9 on yours.
Yep.
All right. So here, I'll play the music.
Okay.
My number 9.
This was a good one.
Cheers.
I'll admit the reason why this did not make my top 10 is because my mom was a counselor growing up, and she thought it was too much drinking. So I didn't get to watch this until like the 90s. But then when I watched it in the 90s, like when I was in high school and college, greatest sitcom ever made.
Oh, yeah.
I have more one-lines from
Sam
Norm.
Malone,
Yes.
Woody,
Coach,
Norm,
all of it.
Cliff Clavin.
It's a dog-eat
Diane,
dog out there, and I'm wearing Milk-Bone underwear.
One of the best transitions from one female lead to another. Christy Alley was great.
Yes.
Frasier Crane started a whole nother show that was super successful off of it.
Every character could have had its own show. I can't argue that.
Nope. That
was hard to beat.
All right, you're at number 8.
Number 8. Let's go. All right. I'm going to do your sitcom, and I'll put mine. This is my first half-hour sitcom, and it is Family Ties. Ooh. This was one that
Can I give you a knuckle bump? It may be a little higher in my top 10.
This was one we watched with our whole family. We were all huge Michael J. Fox fans.
Oh yeah.
This kind of hit home. My mom, again, was a counselor. You know,
did he have the hottest girlfriends or what? He married one. He married one of them.
And this mirrored my family. Like, my mom was very liberal growing up, and then as she got older, she turned straight Republican. Just went from the lady, like the hippie lady in Family Ties, to straight Republican by the time she is 80. But that's a whole nother story. My brother grew up very conservative. That was our family growing up. Family Ties. That was one of the shows that we all watched together, and we loved it. I'll still watch it today and have memories of the family sitting around our one TV zenith.
Michael Gross, Meredith Baxter Burney, Tina Yost, Justina Bateman, Michael J. Fox.
Yep. Great show.
Dude, all right. You're so far. You're so good.
You haven't got to my top yet.
Your top 5 is gonna suck, though.
It will.
You've already gotten some of my top 5 was in your honorable mentions or not even mentioned.
Yeah, I know. Well, I would have put in Sledgehammer if I would have remembered, because that show was straight comedy. I got to go home and look it up, because
if you want to watch it, I have it. I have the whole series.
I'll take it
on a box set.
I recommend everyone watching it and bringing it back. We need a Sledgehammer.
So funnily written too. I was like bummed out when they can't. I only think it went 2 seasons. I think that's what the box set is for those 2 seasons. All right, my number 8.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a friend. Golden Girls is like you would think a bunch of old ladies. It was the funniest freaking show. I mean, you had grumpy one, a couple of grumpy ones, and then you had dumb one, and then you had horny one, and then it was so well written, and it was just so funny, and it was about friends.
This is all right. Before I tear into you, does it bother you that we're like the same age as they were? Like, they were all in their like early 50s.
No, they were.
They look. You think that, but you look it up. They're like in their 50s.
Hey Siri, how old were the Golden Girls during the show?
And the oldest one was the youngest one.
Had to be older.
In the first season of the Golden
Holy
Girls,
shit!
Sean is 53, Dorothy is 53.
I don't know if you can hear that.
55. So they were all older than us, but only by a couple of years.
Yeah, they're 53, 53, 55. If you cannot hear Siri.
And here's the difference between what's happening in our society and our world.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm almost 51. Look at Brad. He is 51. I mean, it's not quite a good representation as me. But
it'd be hurtful.
There's a lot of people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that look fit, healthy, and they look 20 years or 10 years younger because the science is coming so far.
Yeah, it's not like 35 years ago.
Absolutely. That's crazy. I would have guessed them all around upper 50s, lower 60s.
Now, if I didn't know.
You know, the youngest one was the mom.
Yeah. Of course, that was
Estelle Getty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to put a little quick time out here. If you would look at Casey, this big palooka over here, and you would watch him and you would say, that guy looks like a dude who would rank Golden Girls in his top 10. You would be like, no, he doesn't. He looks like it would be.
You know how many times I've watched the Golden Girls episodes?
I'm not surprised, because this gym bro this alpha douche that I thought when I first walked in here is the biggest marshmallow, the biggest teddy bear around.
I just
this
like quality writing
it.
and shows.
This
I mean, that was a great show.
It.
Well, you got to look at my top 5 and your top 5, and I'm guessing that my top 5 is going to have a lot more testosterone in it than yours.
Well, probably, but you know what? I am not surprised that the Golden Girls made your top 10. That was a good show.
Anyone who watched the Golden Girls,
didn't watch it.
It should probably make your top 10.
My parents got divorced. I lived with my dad for a long time. It was an all-male dominated household. There was no Golden Girls.
All right. What's your number 7?
All right. Now we're getting.
Let's see if I have a song for it.
All right. Now this is the last half-hour comedy on my list. This was probably what defined parenting and family to me, and it did more for my understanding of Black people than all of it combined. Yes, I didn't know that he was a serial rapist at the time, but Bill Cosby in The Cosby Show was just crazy in my house. We loved it. My family, we saw Bill Cosby at concerts. We went to a commencement speech that he did in Cincinnati. The Cosby Show was what we thought the family should be. Both educated parents, educated kids. They had the same problems we did. Well,
drugger.
Like, we didn't know that General Lee was a Confederate general that lost, we didn't know that the Confederate flag had issues of people of color. We didn't know any of this growing up. We didn't know that we thought that Bill Cosby loved pudding pops.
There's a difference between a flag that represents something for certain people and a guy who
we didn't know
probably drugged and raped 40, 50, 60 women in his life. There's a big difference.
We had no clue at the time.
And he was married.
Yeah.
It's not like he couldn't have, he's a horrible human being.
He's a horrible human being.
He preached all these positive, healthy things all the time.
We bought into.
And he was full. That's why I didn't even consider it. I saw it. And I'm like, I was like you. I watched Cosby Show religiously. My family did. I couldn't put it on my list because
I had to.
Everything about that show disappeared as soon as all those allegations and the truth started coming out.
We didn't know at the time. We thought he just liked pudding pops.
I couldn't put it on my list. So so Brad is now the guy,
the Scarlet Mark,
who is promoting.
I'm the guy who said Fellini. So go ahead. I'll wear the mark of Cain.
I literally it was a point where I saw it and I went, oh,
see, I was able to
Cosby
separate.
Show, but I can't separate it.
I separate it. But you're right. I did think that afterward. I'm like, we can't watch it anymore.
No, I just can't.
I never got in A Different World. Because
I like Different World too, but I don't know. I just couldn't. Couldn't. All right.
Let's hear it.
My number 7.
Let's hear your 7.
Simon and Simon.
Oh, that's a good one. See, I sense this cop show theme.
Those were brothers. They were private detectives. Had military background.
Yep.
Came on after Magnum PI for, I don't know if for the whole run of the series, but for most, I think there was a time where I was real pissed because they switched Simon and Simon for another show. I almost want to say they moved Knots Landing into the spot afterwards, but then I ended up I liked it.
The guy likes Golden Girls. I'm surprised
there's
Knots
some
Landing's
hot
in the top
chicks,
3.
and there's lots of stuff to happen.
Let me guess, your top 3 is General Hospital, Knots Landing, and Dynasty.
No daytime shows.
All right.
Or no soap operas, pretty much in my list, because they really didn't. Now, if we were to talk about what shows affected me throughout my childhood the most, not like we're talking primetime TV shows.
Yeah.
But my mom watched soap operas, and I grew up, like Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
I grew up with Meg Ryan. She was Betsy on freaking
I wouldn't know.
As the World Turns.
I wouldn't know.
They're like soap operas. I grew up watching soap operas, and I moved out of the house, and I still watch soap operas. My friends would make fun of me. You're watching this? And then they'd sit down, start watching, and go, oh, this is actually pretty good. I'm like, yeah. And they were
her baby? I don't even know.
Yeah. So Simon and Simon, the truck.
Yeah, that was a good.
Big old push sled in the front of it, like a big old, like he could like run through shit.
Yep.
Rick and what was his brother's name? Rick was Gerald McCraney. He was also Major Dad and has been in a bunch of stuff. His brother, No, I can't remember his brother's name, but it was a great show.
That was a good
I
show.
loved it. I look forward to watching it every week. And my dad liked it, and my dad reminded me of Gerald McCraney. They had that kind of look to each other. They had the mustache, and
I could see that.
And the thin build and stuff, wiry build. So and I just always reminded me of my dad. My dad liked the show too. So Simon & Simon is my number 7.
That's a good one. I definitely feel the police, private investigator, Mavericks in your timeline. All right. This one will probably surprise you.
Number 6 for Brad.
But this was definitely a show that I videotaped and VCRs and watched all the time. I wanted one of these machines forever. I'm going Street Hawk. That's right.
Oh my God.
Dude, the greatest.
Did that last one season?
That lasted like 9 episodes, I believe. It was a motorcycle that went 300 miles an hour. And
can you imagine
this show was
trying to operate a motorcycle that goes 300 miles an hour?
Well, not only that, the guy could turn.
Have you just ever been 80 miles an hour on a motorcycle? Holy crap.
Yeah.
It feels like you're going Mach.
So what they did is they had a guy sit on a motorcycle, and then they just had lights just reflect off his helmet.
I remember it. I thought it was cool, but I was like, I don't even think, was it a mid-season replacement?
It could have been. Even my mom, if I called her today and be like, what's the show that I obsessed over all the time? And I would put my G.I. Joes on a motorcycle and try to play. And my mom would be like, oh, God, that horrible show, Street Hawk. And I'm like, that's right.
Yeah.
My mom knew. That came from, I have a thing with motorcycles. I sent you the trailer of the greatest movie ever made, Megaforce. And
I watched the trailer and I just shook my head and went,
I own it.
Good Lord.
I own it. But anyways, even in Megaforce, they had these motorcycles with machine guns on the side, and you would do wheelies and shoot stuff out of the air. And I'm like, oh, that's me. And so when I saw a motorcycle that go 300 and take pinpoint turns,
you probably like the Captain America where he had a shield on the front of the motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm all motorcycles. This one, I really felt bad putting it in.
This is where you lost the top 10 competition. Everybody's going to go, he put a 9-episode mid-season replacement in his top 10.
I really
it affected him so much in the soul that he could have put Magnum PI 8 seasons worth of Magnum PI.
And I knew I was going to take a beating, but I'm like, I have to be true. Even my wife was harassing me when she looked up what this horrible show is. And it was horrible, but I obsessed over it. Okay, I'm sorry. I see that there is no Street Hawk.
There is absolutely. But I did actually see it on the list.
You see there?
When I was looking at all the list of movies, because I was trying to remember ones that, I didn't ever remember.
Oh, my gosh.
So, Brad lost. He's out.
Yeah.
The competition is over.
I don't know, America, what's worse, Street Hawk or Golden Girls? Okay.
How many seasons did Golden Girls run?
It's not about the seasons.
It's on rerun right now.
It's about who has testicles and who doesn't.
Street Hawk?
Look, some of us like racing motorcycles and some of us like horny grandmas.
Oh, jeez.
Who decides which one has testicles?
Some of us like shows that run forever that were amazing. You develop a relationship with the characters. Right. And some of us like motorcycles that go 300 miles an hour who last 9 episodes. Horrible writing.
Excellent episodes. All right.
Do you know Blue Thunder only lasted 1 season? I thought it was on for 2 or 3 years. When I was a kid,
First
I thought
of all,
that was
it's Airwolf. Blue Thunder was a movie.
No. Well, there was a TV show for it too.
Really? I don't even know about the
one
TV
season.
show.
It lasted 1 season. It was a police copter or whatever.
Not as good as Airwolf.
All right, so there's a song to my number 6.
Of course,
not the Street Hawk.
America, or my 3 listeners, don't look up Street Hawk.
This show's so good they made a knockoff of it. This is Quantum Leap. Quantum Leap starred Scott Bakula.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was must-see TV for me. I love time travel. I love, we talked about, I love paranormal stuff, things like a lot of paranormal. A lot of people think it's just science we haven't discovered yet, alternate universes, those type of timelines. There's time shifts and stuff. Well, Quantum Leap, Scott Bakula would jump into somebody's body, and then they would show him at the start, like he would be in women, men, kids, teenagers, old people, out in war, all of these different scenarios. And it was amazing.
It was a good show.
And just popped in my head, another time travel show. Did you ever watch Voyager?
Of course.
Oh, that was a good one too. I didn't think about that. Trying to have that little probably he had like curly hair. And then there was John Von Erich or something like that. Yep. He was like he died from an accident in another show. You remember that?
I think I do.
He got like a blank gun shot next to his head and caused an aneurysm or something like that.
Back when stuntmen were men.
Well, back when you
did your own stunts.
You did your own stunts and you died. No, I remember that show. Like that was it just popped in my head when I started talking about time travel. But Quantum Leap is my number 6.
That's a good one.
It's out now. Now they did a remake of it, and it's out on Peacock or NBC. And I won't watch it because I tried to watch the Magnum remake, and I was like, I about puked. So,
that's a good one. It's definitely better than Street Hawk. Okay. I will give you that one.
Good Lord.
It is definitely better.
You got to redeem yourself. What is number 5 on?
Oh, now I'm telling you, the 5 were hard. 5 was hard. All right. You cannot say anything bad about this number 5.
I hope not.
This is the perfect show meant for teenage boys.
Yep.
Now, I'm just going to tell you, every show followed the same formula. Let me tell you the formula. Okay. You have an innocent family. Something bad happens to the family. Act 1. We'll say that's act 1. Act 2, this team of specialists comes in, messes with the people who mess with Act 1. That's Act 2. Act 3 is that the bad guys always got a leg up. A-Team.
Yes.
B.A. Brackus. All right. This
boy right there. He's got some testicles on.
Was the greatest show ever. And they always had the same formula, and I bought it every single time. Got to milk B.A. to get him on a plane. You had Murdoch. You had Face. They had to drug him, right? With milk. Then they always use milk to drug him.
They injected him sometimes.
Oh, it was so gay. What did you do to me? Oh, not a bad character. It was the greatest show made for. They always had. I don't know what the name of the automatic weapon that they always fired. They would.
It was a Mini 14.
And no one hit anybody. It was like the least. Like they could be 10 feet apart, just going like crazy.
And like a group of 10 shooting at them, and there's 5 of them,
and they're hiding behind like a door of a car.
Yeah,
the door
nobody gets hit. It was classic 80s television.
Yeah, but I bought it hook, line, and sinker. To this day, like you said, I would kill to have a minivan. If I ever bought a van, I would totally make it the 18 van. I would take it to a shop and be like, make this an 18 van.
Oh man, that was the best.
And no woman would date me in it, but all the guys would be like, yeah, man, that's the van. We know that.
Yep. Did you ever see a van that was painted or that same was done up like that? I've seen it one before.
No, I've never seen it. But I mean,
I was down the Bay Area and I was like driving on the freeway. Then on the opposite side, a guy was driving past and it was the 18 van. Everything identical.
Name me a more famous van.
I can't.
I can't. I mean, you could say, the Mystery Machine or whatever for Scooby-Doo.
You know what? That is true.
That's a little VW van. This was a man's van. Yeah. How many vans could be made cool? It had an air flap on the back. The van was so fast. It had a little wind flap, like a little raised thing.
If you have a problem and you can find them, you can hire the A-Team. All right. That's a good number 5.
That is. The top 5 are tough.
But
okay, let's hear your 5th.
I don't know if it should be number 5.
Any of my 5 can be argued number 1. Well, number 2 through 5. They could all go around. Number 1 was a clear winner for me.
All right, so.
All right.
My number 5. Let's see if you can figure it out. Yeah, one of the hottest women to ever be on a TV show.
Well, I already said
his cousin. two hot chicks. One was always like undercover hot.
Yeah.
She was also on another famous 80s show, which almost made my honorable mentions. She played a lawyer in that show. His cousin's name was Howie.
I don't know. It's not ringing bells.
He played another major role as the $6 million man.
Fall Guy?
The Fall Guy.
Fall Guy. That was my dad's favorite two shows was The Fall Guy and Magnum PI.
Dude, I didn't get that song on here too, and that's out there because I watched the video to that like on YouTube.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy starred Lee Majors.
Yep.
What was the hot chick in there?
I don't remember her name.
You never seen? Don't remember back in the day? It was the hot debate: Heather Locklear or Heather Thomas. That picture of her in a bikini.
Sarah Fawcett was it? What her name? I don't know. Fawcett something. She was
Sarah Fawcett. That was 70s. That was Charlie Angels.
That was my brother's hot girl.
Yeah, no. Heather Thomas.
Heather Thomas
was a smoke show.
All right, that is a great show.
And the person who gave them their job, he was a stunt man.
Yeah.
All right. Lee Majors was a stunt man. He had a badass truck.
Yep. You do like,
but he also did PI type stuff and help people, almost like the script was somebody who's in trouble.
Yep.
And he went and helped them, like the 18.
Yep.
You know, and his cousin Howie,
Heather
Thomas would help, and then Marky Post, who was in Night Court.
Yeah.
Who had undercover the biggest chest in all of Hollywood.
Yes. Well, Night Court almost made my honorable mentions. She was amazing.
Night Court came this close because it was definitely one I watched every episode, and I was really.
I had a crush on her.
It was hard for me not to put the Fall Guy, to put Night Court in my honorable mentions at least.
Yep.
There's just so many good shows in
there.
The 80s.
Was.
So Fall Guy is mine. What is your next one?
That was amazing. All right.
Let me get the music up. Let me see. You might have one.
I doubt you're going to have this in your top 5. But again, this show rocked my world.
Okay.
Greatest American Hero.
Oh, yeah.
What more joy of a boy who grew up on comic books than to find a superhero outfit, put it on, and have superpowers?
I didn't think this would be in your list, but the song is on. Like, I don't have it on my playlist. But the song is on there. It is out there. That's the best thing about the show was the song.
Yeah, that was really good.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
And I just want to say,
William Catt.
80s theme songs were the best.
Oh, they were the best. I mean,
they don't even do it anymore.
They do, like, when you hear the Game of Thrones song, you know it's Game of Thrones, Yellowstone. They have music, but they don't like sing lyrics. Like the Fall Guy.
Yeah,
that song is like a song you listen to on the radio.
Yeah.
Waylon Jennings saying Dukes of Hazzard, just a good-o. It's actually on his album.
Yeah.
You know, they're like real songs. The 18 one is, there's a lot of music ones too, but they're so definitive.
Yeah.
You go, oh, that is the 18.
Yeah, and you couldn't fast forward them. Like, these were the days you listened. And you listened well.
Absolutely.
I know. This was kind of my last one that will shock you, but I love that show. That was... I liked it too. It was a good show. I think he was such a nerd. I had a hard time. Yeah. Well, you know, look who you're talking
I liked it. It's just, I don't know.
Comedy. Oh, he could never fly or land. He would always.
Oh yeah, he'd always wreck into everything and stuff. But
it's great. They lost the instruction manual, which was the best part of this.
I would put it in my top 25.
All right, well, there you go. I mean, it's still better than Street Hawk, where you almost disowned me.
Well, and not putting Magnum in the top 5 at least. I mean, so. What is your mindset between not putting Magnum PI, which lasted for 8 seasons and is a seminal work of one of the greatest actors in all of Hollywood history, the most successful?
Yeah.
He did what? Another 13 or 14 seasons of Blue Bloods?
Yeah. Oh, I loved him, and I love Tom Selleck. I love the movie that Tom Selleck did with Gene Simmons with the little mechanical spiders. Like, I was all in on him. I love the show.
Lassiter?
Something like that.
Well, that was one of them, was Lassiter. There was a few of them that he did. But he was a big star. He almost was Indiana Jones, except he chose to do
he would have been a great one.
He signed back on to do more things of Magnum.
I love the show. I just couldn't watch it very much because we had one TV and it was kind of my dad's. And so if he didn't watch it, I didn't watch it.
That was the hard thing about
you know,
when
I got out
in my house,
I started watching my shows.
In my house was one.
We had one TV.
3, 4, 5. There's 6 TVs in my house, and one here.
Yeah.
Back when we were kids,
Yeah.
we had a I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
It's set on the ground.
Set on the ground.
It had wood all around it.
Oh yeah.
And it had a 26-inch screen.
Almost about the size of this table.
It was huge and weighed a ton because I had to help move them when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was nothing like what we had to do. So we had one TV. So it used to be like a war.
Yeah.
Probably one of the reasons I can be so ornery and nasty is because I had to fight for the TV all the time. And I would denigrate my sisters over their shows and stuff and mock them so bad they wouldn't even want to watch TV when I was around.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to. Casey's just going to sit there and make fun of it because I don't want to watch My Little Ponies.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So
there you go. See, that's why if I would have watched up, I would have put in I discovered most of your shows afterward. My dad was a big sci-fi geek, so that changed a lot.
All right, so my number 4 has already been talked about.
Okay. It must be good.
Family Ties.
That was such a good show.
So Family Ties was, I have to, out of any sitcom, number 1 out of sitcoms. I mean, just so hands down. I was Alex P. Keaton.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to go to New York and work in the stock market.
Yeah.
Even up and through high school, it was because of Michael J. Fox or Michael Keaton.
Now, do you know
and I was super black and white, no gray area. It was this was right, this was wrong. Yeah. I was a huge Ronald Reagan fan. I mean,
who was it when we were growing up?
Well, Ronald Reagan was great. He was funny. He was smart. I mean, he was a great leader of people. But
he would crush the election today if he was here. He would have been 98%.
He crushed in debates. He would just how some people let's say a Trump. He's an ass and he makes fun and mocks people and people. He actually would say funny stuff that would make the other competitor like Walter Mondale stuff laugh. Former governor of California too, back when California wasn't completely corrupt.
He was self-appreciating.
So Michael J. Fox is Michael P. Keaton, and then the characters of his parents, which were super liberal, was hilarious juxtaposition of the two.
Now that the show was supposed to be only about the parents, and the kids were supposed to be byproducts. But Michael J. Fox was so good and became so popular that they shifted and says, "We got to make the show about him."
Oh well, he
stole it.
I mean, look at everything he did back in the 80s.
Yeah, he wore a sports coat.
And my top 10 movies, Back to the Future.
Oh my God. I mean,
nothing beats Star Wars, but Back to the Future is
close. That's another holy trinity.
Right up in the top 3. I don't know. I'd have to go and really analyze and think about it to figure out which one was higher. But Back to the Future is top 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, so Michael. But the thing is my mom would always go, "Oh yeah, Michael, Michael Keaton over here, thinks he's, I was pretty smart. I wasn't that into school like he was. Yeah. I wasn't as when it came to that, I was more of into athletics, and I hated sitting in class and stuff. But I could get good grades. So I could have been a 4.0 student if I wanted to. I just didn't put any effort into it and still got,
Since this is our last, this is your last half-hour sitcom, right?
Yeah.
I want to bring this up too. The half-hour sitcoms in the 80s always had that special episode. They usually had 2 because they probably put out 30 episodes a year of these shows. And he always had a recap show when they were tired and that the writers needed a break. But then he always had this is a special episode. Everyone knows, where Dudley got molested by the bike owner. Yeah. Michael Keaton's one was still one of the best ones. His was in this dark lit room, and it was all him talking to himself and debating something. I can't remember what he's debating, but they dropped change, and he named all the change. That was one of the big jokes. He was so good with money. But every 80s comedy, we would be turning in, running a good time, and it'd have one deep episode a season of
somebody got touched.
Episode. Yep.
Somebody did it.
Somebody
died
smoked a joint. Drugs. Yeah. Oh, it was. I just
somebody
throw
drank
that in there.
Alcohol. Yeah. It was such a horrible. Yeah. Somebody listened to a rap song that said.
And then
said something about sex.
And then Family Ties did what every sitcom did in the 80s when it was running out of gas. They threw in another baby. They did it with
The truck.
Leo DiCaprio was in Family Ties, I think, wasn't he? The baby?
No. That was Growing Pains.
Oh, Growing Pains. Yeah, see, they all did it.
Almost got an honorable mention on my list.
Yeah,
it's up there, but Family Ties is so much better than Growing Pains.
It's on a different level.
Yeah, Growing Pains is great, and it's up there. I put it on the level of Who's the Boss.
Yeah.
Which is in the honorable mentions, but it's in the honorable mentions because I had such a crush on Alyssa Milano. I mean,
that's why she was in my top 10.
Now I can't stand her, but
Yeah. Oh, but she was young, Alyssa. She had her own workout video. I mean, she moved the generation.
She was something special.
Yeah.
Like she had a sparkle in her eye.
Oh my God, she did.
It made me even, and it was long before I was sexual. It just. You just were like, I love her. You don't even know what love is.
Cute, yep.
But you loved Alyssa Milano as a boy.
All right. Now, you can't get mad at me for the next two.
I probably will. They probably will suck.
Now, my number one, you'll figure out what the hell I'm going. But my next two are pretty rock solid. All right? So, my number three, and this was hard between 3 and 2, Knight Rider.
Right.
That was Kit, Michael. They had this big semi that they would hide in and they would get out. I don't know how wide this semi was that he could get out of his truck and walk to the front. But it was the most. I owned all the toys. I had the big Michael toy.
I had the Knight Rider with the toy.
The little, hello, Michael. Yep. What car was that? You're a car guy.
It's a Pontiac Firebird.
Oh my God. Who did not want one?
Oh, I did.
I mean,
I don't now. Like when people go, well, what are all the? I used to always go. I want Smokey and the Bandit. I want the Ferrari from Magnum. I want the van from A-Team. And when I was younger, I go, I want the Pontiac Firebird from Knight Rider. And I go, no, that's a piece of crap of a car. But it looks so cool. It looks so good.
I wanted.
It's still, if you had it done up and it was out here, and you had the light in the front, it would still look really cool because it's very aerodynamic and stuff too. But it was
definitely probably the top third vehicle I wanted. I think I wanted Street Hawk. That motorcycle was one. I wanted the
dude. You shouldn't have brought that up again. I was just starting to build some respect for you again, and then you brought that up again.
Again, this was a very formulaic 80s show that had the same formula, but to have a car that could like launch Michael out and like he could grab like an escape ladder, and turbo boost over stuff and save him and like, Kit, you stay here and whatever. And I'm like, okay, Michael. I mean, it was great.
Do you remember when Goliath came on?
Oh yes.
I was like scared. I was like, oh crap. There's this truck is way bigger and it does everything that Kit does, and you can't shoot bullets at it. How is Kit gonna beat this Goliath?
So Goliath was
I remember
the Bionic Man had like Sasquatch. This was Kit's Sasquatch. This was his arch nemesis.
Yes.
It was the Kit version, and it was, what kind of a truck was it? I remember it was huge and terrifying.
It was just a big Freightliner, like the flat front truck. I don't even know what it would have been called.
But didn't it have like
Mack truck?
Big like metal bars or something on it?
Oh, they had all kinds of attitude to make it look
badass. It was terrifying.
Like, do you remember the truck from Tango and Cash?
Yeah.
That was just a regular car, a regular truck that they just added everything to. It made it look so badass.
Yeah.
Was it like a Nissan hardbody or something?
It
was something like that was not like an impressive vehicle, but they added all this cool stuff on it. Same with Goliath. They just added a bunch of cool stuff on it.
You can't beat the 80s. You kids don't know. All right, what's your number 3?
My number 3. Let me see.
We're getting to the nitty gritty. These are hard decisions for me. Like I went back and forth with the first 5 through 2. Oh yeah.
Airwolf.
Yo, you had it way higher than me.
Number 3 is Airwolf.
Yes.
I had the Hot Wheel of Airwolf.
Yes. Oh my God.
Then I had the big Airwolf, but I had the Hot Wheel. I still have it somewhere in my basement.
All right, this is not as bad as me picking Street Hawk, but this is a little high for
ran
Airwolf.
for 3 or 4 seasons.
I'm just saying.
It had Academy Award winner Ernest Borgnine in it.
Yeah,
it had
Vincent. Was it Vincent something? I can't remember his name. He's
Jan Michael Vincent.
Might have been the most 80s name ever.
And he was the most 80s dude too, because he was a dude's dude, and he was drunk all the time.
Dude.
Apparently,
yeah.
Apparently the show would have maybe lasted longer, except that guy was such an alcoholic and he had a real hard time showing up.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that was the rumor.
That helicopter, for people who, you know what? I think at the end of this video, I'm going to throw some screenshots of some of these vehicles we're talking about.
Oh yeah, you should. You should.
And I'll put links to all the shows in the notes.
You should. That would be great.
Because
some of the people that might listen or watch this in the future,
they're
gonna be like, what the hell are they talking about? Instead of like they're
gonna be like, fucking Street Hawk should have been #1, bro.
No, that's not gonna.
This was the coolest helicopter known. When you look at helicopters in the 80s, I always thought like the Magnum PI, like little baby helicopter, or like MASH helicopters. Like this one looked like a streetcar helicopter. This one would just fly, had silent mode. It was awesome. It was awesome. It had a boost also. Mm-hmm.
And when it hit that boost, it would make a sound.
Oh, yeah.
And it also just made a sound like it was on the start.
Yeah.
Ooh, it was so badass. And it had missiles that dropped down from underneath it.
Helicopter with
and then it had wings on it.
Yep, little baby wings.
Machine guns would pop out the wings. And this thing handled as close to a jet as any helicopter. And it would go head to head with jets. It could go up and do a loop.
Yes.
When most helicopters could not.
I kept asking my dad, I'm like, why is this in the military? Like, why can't we just send this over to just like send 500 Airwolves
and destroy Russia? Because back in the 80s, Russia was our enemy.
Just be like, can't we just make like 1,000 Airwolves and just send them over and just dominate? No.
We had badass helicopters in the military.
Yeah,
they were more like Blue Thunder though. Yeah, they were Apaches.
That was quality.
Yeah, so Airwolf.
Quality.
Airwolf.
All right, that surprised me.
3.
That surprised me.
Oh no, I loved Airwolf, man. I had to put it up there.
This here, all right, is quintessential 80s. When you think of the 80s, you're going to think of a show. It inspired fashion, music, cocaine use. Yes. You are my Crockett to my Tubbs. Miami Vice. This show defined cool for Midwestern Ohio. Okay, for those of us who've never seen the ocean, we thought everybody looked like this on the coast. There was no cooler person than Crockett and Tubbs. Was it Crockett and Tubbs?
Yeah, Crockett and Tubbs.
Don Johnson. You know what? I am straight, but I was in love with the man. Like he would wear like the white coat, baggy white pants, slippers, no socks, and a fluorescent colored
like a pink
tee. Yeah,
like a white jacket with a pink shirt
and
gold
Cruise
chain.
Miami. Oh, In the Air Tonight. This show had more famous guest stars that turned out to be A-list actors than anything. You can Google like all the guest stars from like Ben Stiller, all the way up to everybody. Just everybody was on this show. And half the time, I didn't understand what was going on. There was like drug deals gone bad, drug dealers dealing with other drug dealers. Who knew? All they knew is it had the most badass soundtrack, the 2 coolest looking guys, and the prototypical police captain, who turned out to be the greatest ship captain in Galactica. What's the friggin' show that we love?
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica, thank you.
Edward James Olmos was his name.
Yes.
I actually saw him speak live.
He's such a badass. But this was a young Edward James, and he was the police captain to end all police captains.
He talked quietly and carried a big stick.
My dad was a homicide detective for a long time. And a town that we lived next to, and I kept looking at him and be like, dude, like, where's the Ferrari or wherever they drove?
Daytona Spider Ferrari.
Like, where is the suits and having the badge hang on the hip? This show was the 80s.
But it's your number 2.
It's my number 2. I have a clear number 1, but this, like, I will still watch the show. Like, it holds up because, like, the plots aren't as crazy as like the 18.
I don't know why I never got into. I watched it some, but I never got into Miami Vice like I did other shows.
Yeah, well, again, my dad watched it, and we watched it together, and
I never
sucked me in.
Yeah, I never got into. I think my mom may have like not liked the drug aspect of it and stuff too, and it was a little too like realistic violence.
So
although Magnum was too. She only watched Magnum.
Yeah.
Magnum had lots of people getting shot and killed, and Magnum.
That's
Tapped
different
some
though.
people
Like this, Miami Vice was like a serious. Like the 18
It
was
was
kind of
seedy.
corny.
It was kind
this
of
was
seedy.
kind of seedy. That's a good word.
Yeah.
Good word. Good word. But that's the difference between my mom and my dad. Like they got divorced, and if my mom like, you're not watching Cheers. It's just a bunch of alcoholics, and my dad's like, Miami Vice is on. Let's go grab some cocaine and like throw this on the tube, and like we're like, okay, Dad. So yeah,
his dad really did not grab cocaine.
Yeah,
let's not denigrate his dad's name.
So most of my influences were through him. Okay. But that was my number 2. Let's hear your 2. I'm excited. If Airwolf was number 3, can't argue.
The A-Team is definitely my number 2.
Yep.
If you were to ask my mom what my favorite shows were, she always knows this Magnum was one of my favorites because I used to argue and fight with her to stay up late to watch Magnum. And then it would be Airwolf and A-Team. Those were my shows. Knight Rider, right up there too, all in my top 5.
Yep.
Because they're shows that I craved to watch.
Yeah.
That I would watch over and over again. I would marathon them. I own them a lot. I own season 1 of Knight Rider on DVD. I own all the seasons of Magnum PI. There's just things that I loved, and I would want to watch them over and over again, and I never got tired of their shtick. Yeah. Just like there was the same writing every time.
Yeah, I didn't care.
It didn't matter. The actors were awesome.
They were going to build some crazy escape plan.
BA and Murdoch are building some crazy contraption that's going to shock the bad guys and catch them off guard, and it's going to allow them to win.
You knew it was close to bedtime in my family when they started building the contraption. Like, the show's nearly over.
It's almost over.
We got one more commercial.
There's a final segment here where the A-Team wins and the bad guys lose.
I have to go get ready for bed.
And it was always Crazy Murdoch, who was a great helicopter pilot, great pilot in general. Yeah. And who at one time played Max Headroom in the 80s. And then you had B.A. Baracus, who was Mr. fucking T.
Yep.
And then you had
that attitude.
Oh, yeah. And then Faceman, who was also in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
He was Starbuck.
Yeah.
Or was it Starbuck? In the first one, not the one of
the
the original Battlestar Galactica. He played Starbuck, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Kitty Sackhoff played Starbuck in the remake. And then George Peppard.
I love it when a plan comes together.
I love it when a plan comes together.
The essence of manliness.
With a cigar in his mouth.
Always had that coat on.
So these guys were basically special operations team in Vietnam.
That's who I thought. I mean, in my mind, they were all Delta Force. Like they were. Like,
I don't think they ever said. They just said basically that at one point they went into why they were. Yeah. Like they were always being chased by a general.
Yeah.
General Decker, I think, for a while. And there's another general that was after him.
They always had to break the guy out of psych ward.
They always had to break Murdoch out of the psych ward.
Yeah, he was a little crazy.
They always drugged B.A. Baracus.
Yeah,
they always drugged him, and they had the badass van, the Mini 14 guns. I had a gun that looked very much like my first hunting rifle was an M1 carbine, which looks like a Mini 14. The Mini 14 just has more of an extended barrel. Yeah. I believe, if I remember right, it's called a Mini 14.
Yeah. I don't know.
But that was their guns they used. So I had a gun that looked like that had the holes in the barrel too. I thought I was so cool because that was my gun.
You would have been cool.
Yeah. So, but that was my number 2.
All right.
So good they made a movie about it with Liam Neeson, Rampage Jackson.
Lame. They should have
Bradley
made it more.
Cooper.
All right.
Number one.
This show.
You're going to shit the bed with this one. They're going to shit the bed. I know you're going to shit the bed with it, number one.
This show had everything a young Brad had in it.
I doubt it's going to be on the playlist.
I doubt it is. This had sexy women in bikinis. This had, what was her name? Erin Gray. This had battles. It had starships. This was everything I've ever wanted. It had a man with feathers for hair. I, of course, am talking about Buck Rogers.
I thought that was more in the late 70s.
No, man. Ran from like 83 to something. This was my show.
Hey, Siri.
It counts.
When did Buck Rogers' TV show run from?
Doesn't matter.
The first version of Buck Rogers to appear on television debuted on ABC on the 15th of April, 1950. And ran until
It must be an earlier one.
Must have been way earlier.
Gil Gerard, Buck Rogers.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This was 80s. This was
okay.
Erin Gray.
Believe you. I remember
she
it.
was hot.
So.
And then they had like the evil princess always wear bikini, like this string bikini. And I remember like that's Star Wars, but with bikinis and Erin Gray with the feathered hair.
Yeah, Erin Gray. Also in Silver Spoons and one of your honorable mentions.
My God.
Was that number 10? That was number 10. Yeah.
This was, I got to remember who the girl in the bikini was, but she was like Buck Rogers.
How many seasons did it run?
Catwoman. It ran a while because
I don't think it ran
that long. Let's look it up. The guy with the feathered hair came on later. He was a psychic. He had these really sharp feathered eyebrows, and he had this white. Well,
it was kind of like he was Ming the Conqueror or whatever from Flash Gordon. Like Buck Rogers was very much like Flash Gordon, except I think it predated Flash Gordon. Maybe they both were really old.
The movie was woo.
Flash Gordon. Oh, yeah. I like Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
which got introduced to a lot of other people because of Ted.
Yeah. Erin Gray, Tim O'Carter.
Give me the dates, though. I could have swore that was late 70s, early 80s.
The first episode aired late 1979 and ran into the early 80s.
What? How far into the 80s?
Look.
How many seasons did it run?
83. But look, you counted Next Generation. Okay.
That was an honorable mention. That's the only reason I listed them because they had 2 seasons. You know what? It was 88, I think. But I don't dislike the show. Yeah. But I would want a more.
The first season ended in the 80s. How about that?
All right. It just brings your list down.
Space Vampires.
You put my list against anyone, and you put 1,000 people voting on it. I'll win 900 of the votes.
I'm just trying to find who that lady was.
There'll be like 100 challenged people like going, "Oh, I love the motorcycle Street Hawk."
Look, here's my guy
talking with a lisp and a limp, and they'll vote for Street Hawk. That you get about 10% of the vote.
Oh my gosh! I mean. Look, here's just one episode. Buck Rogers visits the planet, blah, 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 with a landing party, hoping to gather some Thurbian crystals to power the searcher.
Thurbian crystals.
Seeking crystals, Buck finds a mummy and a girl with amnesia. I mean, come on! Come on. Come on. All right, let's hear your one.
Hold on, I'm going to play my ringtone.
Okay. Buck Rogers.
It's the best. That's my ringtone, see?
That is awesome.
That's how much I love Magnum PI. I also am dressed in Magnum shirt. This is actually
we knew what your number one was.
The red shirt for Magnum PI. I actually looked up online like back in the day when I was being so I paid for that ringtone. So that's why I ran it longer right there. So that's my ringtone on my phone. I love Magnum PI. My kids have watched most of the Magnum PI episodes. I still reference stuff like when somebody does something stupid, I go, like my daughter the other day was saying, actually 2 nights ago, maybe it was last night. She said something stupid. And I went, "Oh my God, Nira." because Matt Higgins would always say, "Oh my God, Magnum." British guy. I loved Magnum PI so much. I bought, even when I didn't have a lot of money back in the day.
Yeah.
Not that I have a lot of money now, but I mean,
come on, look at that for a Buck Rogers. That was the bad guy.
and she was hot. I remember.
I mean, come on.
I liked Buck Rogers, but
it
it didn't even make my honorable mentions.
All right.
I liked it though. Don't get me wrong.
Fine.
It's better than Street Hawk.
Nothing is better than Street Hawk.
It should have been maybe in honorable mentions, but like, all right, I'll give you that.
Okay.
So Magnum PI is 8 seasons.
It formed who you are today.
So when I was a kid,
Are you going to retire in Hawaii?
No, I'd rather die. I'm more like Jan Michael Vincent.
Yeah.
From Airwolf. I want to live in the mountains by a lake. I don't want to live by the ocean.
Now, see, I really I wanted to be Magnum, but instead of the car, I wanted the helicopter.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
That helicopter
that Ferrari so much. That Ferrari was everything I always wanted. I've looked up Ferrari 308. I think it's the 308 GT. And I've looked it up so many times looking for used ones. I mean, the cheapest I ever found one was $36,000. Now, it wasn't running, but it was still, the body was in good shape.
Yeah.
And it said that it had been running and there was something wrong with it. And it was $36,000.
Yeah.
And I'm not spending $36,000 on something I can't drive. I don't have that type of money. So,
but if anyone wants to sponsor, then give this man.
Yeah, well, if anybody would like to give me a Ferrari, I'll put their picture up and sitting right here on the show.
I will tattoo your brand on my chest.
He will too.
I will.
So, what affected me so much as growing up is, number one, the writing was always great.
Yeah.
Now, did they have set plot type points? There was always something.
Of course.
Magnum was a private investigator who also was the head of security of Robin's Nest.
I mean, first of all, they just said, you know what's going to make a good show? We take one of the coolest guys we can find. Check. Yep. We put him on a Paradise. Check. We give him one of the greatest cars you can drive on this Paradise. Check. And then we have a best friend who has a helicopter. Check. Do we really need much of a plot? Not really.
No, not really.
I mean, he could have, Magnum could have just been hanging out. But I would have watched it because everything on the show was
Stephen
cool.
Belisario wrote it. It was very well written. It was the first time they had Vietnam vets with PTSD, and then they would actually harken back to why these things were happening to him. Yeah. And my favorite episodes were always with his wife / former wife / mother to his daughter. They thought had died, but really didn't die. Michelle. She was beautiful, Asian, part Italian looking woman.
They're all.
But and Magnum loved her so much, and I've always been. I'm kind of a romantic guy. I grew up kind of being a romantic guy. I love that love story between those two. Plus, Magnum got all the tail.
All right, ladies, if you are interested in Casey, he is.
Let me talk about Magnum. All right,
singled and ready to mingle.
So Magnum got all the women.
Of course, my mom loved him. Dumped my dad for Magnum.
Oh, I think 90% of the women in the United States would dump their husbands for Magnum.
That's why that show was so popular. I mean, guys were in it for the plot, the buddy with the cars,
the guns, the PI, the war stuff, the helicopter,
Magnum was wearing short shorts.
Oh,
he was wearing a tight fit shirt, half buttoned down.
Oh yeah,
you were doing in the video for those watching.
Gray hair, and I have a mixture of salt and pepper look, and I didn't want to show off the gray hair. So
come on, you should have. Their Silver Singles could sponsor us.
Yeah. So,
but that kept the women in because my mom, she would watch that show, and I know she wasn't watching it for the guns or the car. She was watching it for.
Dude. So when I was growing up, I was like,
Magnum.
I loved the romance aspect of it. I loved the gunplay, the stuff, and it was funny too. There was lots of funny stuff in there.
Yep.
Like in the Dobermans, Zeus and Apollo, always chasing Magnum.
Yep.
And then the great part of it too is when I was growing up, I remember I was in 7th, 8th grade. I was like, I want to be like Magnum, and I was like, Tom Selleck's 6'4".
Yeah.
And I go, I want to be 6'4". And this guy did I got 6'2 3/4". But I never got 6'4". But that's how much I liked Magnum PI when I was a kid. I go, I wanted to be 6'4", so I could be as tall as Magnum PI. And
Yeah.
I wanted to have. Now I had some great friends growing up.
Yeah.
So, but I always wanted a TC and a Rick.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They have your back no matter what.
They were the greatest.
Even though they tell
friends.
you they're not going to do it, then they end up doing it. You know.
You're right. They were the best friends.
Oh yeah, they always had his
I've
back.
always wanted a best friend with a helicopter.
How many times did they save each other's lives?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
It was great. Then there was one of my favorite episodes was the one where they had the ghost.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
No, I don't. I'm not like you. That was not in my top 10 because I didn't watch.
That's because Brad's.
I was too busy watching reruns of Street Hawk.
Jesus.
Actually, I was going gaga over Aaron Gray and the Princess and Buck Rogers.
All right, just.
And then if I wasn't doing that,
no,
I was looking at
your list is over.
Your
list is over. It was crap.
Nicole Eggert.
It was crap.
Alyssa Milano.
Crap. Magnum brought PTSD and war issues for the first time to television.
Yeah.
To network television.
That was CBS, right?
Oh yeah, CBS, man, all the way. This show was so well done, and then Higgins' character, Jonathan Hillerman, little short British guy, who super smart, and there was always the thing is Higgins Robin Masters. Robin Masters owned Eagle's Nest, which is where they lived at, and he was an author who wrote books. And Higgins was always writing like his memoirs and stuff, but he would never disdain himself to write something like that. But there was always this thought that Higgins might have been Robin Masters. And then there was like 2 or 3 seasons towards the end where it was always like one of those, like Magnum would tease him about being Robin Masters and was always trying to get him to slip up and say he was Robin Masters. There was just so much in the show, and they addressed real life topics too.
Yep. And they did it in
a way better way than the sitcoms ran their stupid little episodes.
Yep. And
where they were like
special episode.
Yeah, it wasn't a special episode. It was just an episode
mom.
on Magnum, and it wasn't done in a dumb way. It was done like an adult would do it, you know. So it was just really awesome. The only thing you got to watch out for is if you go back and watch it and you have kids. Like there was a few episodes where I was like, I kind of forgot. In the 80s, after 9 o'clock at night,
things could get a little Miami Vice-ish.
If they were to a strip club, there was women in very small bikinis dancing on tables and on poles, and you're like going, "Oh, well, let me fast forward past this with my kids watching it."
Maybe I need to start watching Magnum PI again. I don't know.
They didn't like it. Was like they tried to make it as real life, I think, as possible. It was an adult show.
So you give me a lot of shit for mine, but I will tell you,
the mine's better. Thank you, man. That's good of you.
Yours is probably higher quality shows, but let's not like name the best shows. It was what shows that matter to you. That's how I took it.
Magnum PI is my favorite show of all time out of any genre and era.
I will say, when it comes to shows that like I could sit down right now and watch, like I could not get through an A-Team. Like I could probably get through 1 or 2, and I'm like, oh my god. This is so obnoxious. I can't do it.
Oh no, it's still good.
I could not get through a Nighthawk, even though I love it because now I know. But like young Brad did, but I could watch Cheers now and still laugh.
You could watch Magnum PI. And
I could watch
there and go,
Magnum
these
PI.
Are really good.
They age well. Like I watched a bunch of Miami Vice because this got me thinking of it, and I'm like, dude, it still kind of holds up.
Really good shows.
They were adult. They were adult-themed, well-written shows.
Now, none of them were in our list, but when you look back at Dallas, Falcon Crest, Knots Landing, you know, they were all shows that were very well done. Yeah. They were number 1 shows in the country. I mean, Who Shot JR was as big as anything ever.
I think that had like...
and then they got so much shit for
making it
doing the flashback episode. And there's just so much in the 80s that was so good. Now, a lot of it was cheesy and doesn't hold up. You know what? I watched an episode of Elf with my kids when they were younger, and I thought it was still funny. Like the whole cat thing, eating the cats, chasing after.
It made a comeback in the 90s.
Now, shows like Small Wonder.
Yeah.
They don't hold up.
Mr. Belvedere.
Oh, I almost put that as an honorable mention. I loved Mr. Belvedere, and I love Bob Uecker.
Yep.
That was so good. That was a good show. I liked Mr. Belvedere.
They were like all of this stuff. Webster
was good.
Different Strokes.
A lot of former football players. Fred Dreyer was a former Ram.
Yep.
Alice Karras was a former Detroit Lion.
A lot of former football players. Yeah. A lot of old white people taking care of young black kids. Was a thing that was going on in the 80s. Like we're going to take a poor black kid and we're going to put it in a very wealthy house, and we'll make that a show.
Just think of how that would go over nowadays.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like the 80s were just such a different time.
They'd be like getting drive-bys. Drive-bys were big in the 80s too. They'd be getting people shooting up their studio if they were doing that.
I could still watch Buck Rogers today, and I would instantly memorize everything that was going on. Like, oh, I know all of this. I can do that. I can't do A-Team. Could not get through. I could watch Family Ties and still get the joy of that. And that was like mid to early 80s.
Yeah. Good acting, good writing.
Yeah. The formulaic stuff, like I could not get through Knight Rider today if I had to. So cheesy. Could not get through half the list. But I will say, like, like if I watch Magnum PI, I'm like, I can enjoy it. Because, like, it's universal. Like, I will never get tired of watching like shows in Hawaii.
So I will say this. I don't watch a
Ferrari.
lot of Magnum. Every once in a while, I'll watch it. But I accidentally, when I was painting my house back this last summer, accidentally cut my line for my Comcast Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And so I was without Wi-Fi for 6 days.
That's horrible.
I watched 4.5 seasons of Magnum PI, and I loved every minute of it. And I go back and watch certain episodes, I'll be like, I feel like watching Magnum tonight. And it was on Netflix for a while. It's on different things. I don't think it is anymore. But like I have them. I have the DVDs. I have the whole season.
Smart.
So I went back and watched, and it holds up just fine. It's still entertaining. It's still good. Certain episodes are better than others. But, I mean, we've been going for a while.
Yeah.
So
we're going to wrap it up soon. But I just want to say the show that we watched the most in my household, and I could not put it on because it was not an 80s show, but it was my dad's favorite show, and we watched it on repeat. My dad loved this show, was MASH. And if MASH was able to be on, that would have been my number one show. Yeah. Like my dad.
I watched almost
God rest his show.
Every episode of MASH, yeah.
And MASH, and the only reason it made me think of MASH. Yeah.
It was same as Little House on the Prairie. MASH was on all the time when we were kids.
I could watch any episode of MASH and it still holds up. Like the humor, the time, all of that.
Yeah,
same
it was
thing.
a great show.
It's not like the other one.
So is Little House on the Prairie. You can go back and watch Little House on the Prairie, and it holds up.
Yep.
I mean,
some of these shows really hold up. Some of them, like Street Hawk and like these other really corny 80s shows that young us loved.
Yes.
Do not hold up.
You can watch a certain amount of A-Team and Airwolf and really like it still. Now, sitting down and having it be must-see TV, like nowadays, no. Like Yellowstone.
But I used to love the A-Team when it came on.
I waited for years, and there was always rumors they're going to make a Magnum PI movie with the original character. There was rumors for years. And there was times where you go, oh, they're starting pre-production on this movie, and I'd be like, oh crap, yes. Yeah. And then nothing. And then when they came out that new Magnum show, I don't know if anybody else watched it.
Was it made by Kathleen Kennedy? Can we go on for another 20 minutes?
I think Kathleen Kennedy made the new Magnum PI and Quantum Leap show. Let's cast the exact
Higgins, I need you, Magnum. I'm sorry.
Higgins, you're British, but you're a smoke show, and you and Magnum are going to fuck.
No. I can't help you, Higgins. I'm going to live on this private island in the middle of Hawaii, and I'm going to turn my back on you like Scoot Skywalker. That shall be no more.
Yeah.
No more Magnums.
So let's make Higgins a woman, and let's make Magnum PI a short Mexican guy.
Like, I don't care what his race is, but he should have been.
Magnum PI is a big, tall, burly white guy. Now, if you made it a big, tall, burly Mexican guy, all right. That was more manly.
Why could
I look at the guy they put in a Magnum PI and I go, I'll whip his ass in 2 seconds.
Yeah. First of all, he's got to be manly, but technically he should have been Samoan. Come on,
that would have been good.
If Roman Reigns, burly Samoan.
Roman Reigns,
yes,
Magnum PI. That's what I'm talking about. That we should be doing this.
Would have been great.
But no, you get a little short, tiny guy.
Yeah.
I mean
Well, first of all,
Magnum PI he would get in fight with big old badass dudes because he was also 6'4" and had some muscle on him.
I mean,
he got his ass whipped. Magnum got his ass whipped in the show. He always had a bloody nose or a black eye, or he had ice on him because he'd been in a fight. Yeah, but the guy they have playing it out, the guy that it's like Hollywood wants to make. They remake these things and they go, but we got to make them like.
We got to make them for the ladies.
They make them like these characters weren't white guys, and they go, "Oh, back in the '80s, it was so unbiased and stuff." One of my favorite shows was Benson too.
Yep,
but
Benson was really
Benson
good.
was great. I loved it. Black character was the primary character.
Look, I'm the one who threw in a Cosby Show.
I would have thrown it in. It would have been in my top 10, except Bill Cosby's a rapist, a serial rapist.
So my big thing, and I stole this line from one of my favorite comic book artists. Like Marvel has this thing where they change the sex of a lot of their characters. Like Thor for a while was a girl, Captain America was black, which is fine.
Yeah.
My big thing is, instead of taking a originally made character made like in a 30s, 40s, or 50s, where times are way different, and just making them a different color, they should make a good superhero into that color. Yeah, which some Marvel has done.
Creative. Yeah, actually, look at Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
I mean, look at Miles Morales.
Miles Morales was the best.
So you gotta make new characters. If you're gonna go and make Magnum PI again, I don't want to see now. All my best friends growing up were all Hispanic guys, shorter Hispanic guys. You
did grow up in the hills of California.
No, I grew up an hour north in still the valley, and so. But all my best friends growing up, my friends that I moved out with when all Hispanic guys. But they're not Magnum PI. Magnum PI was my height. They're a little bit taller and could handle himself in a fist fight.
Yep.
And he wasn't a little tiny guy that I go, if I saw this guy and I was supposed to be scared of him, I wouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Magnum, at least you had a little bit of intimidation value, and you had badass friends.
I always thought so now I've kind of gotten down. This is like, we're kind of digressing as we always do at the end.
Okay. So let's talk about one more thing along these lines.
All right.
When they made the 18 movie, did they change anything about the 18 movie?
No.
Liam Neeson played Hannibal.
Yep.
Rampage Jackson played BA. Bradley Cooper played Fate. So he played Murdoch. Who played Murdoch?
The guy who was in he's the South African who played Alien 9. I can't think of his name, but he is a well-known South African actor who was in a bunch of movies.
Face. I just can't think.
He was in Asylum, Elysium. He was the bad guy in Elysium, who played opposite whatever. But he was a white guy, but he's South African.
But they remade it and they stuck true to what the original script was. They just put different characters in.
Exactly.
And it was a good movie. I bought it.
I wouldn't mind if they, make a character that you want represented in their own.
Make a team of mercenaries and make them all black, Samoan, Chinese, just like Expendables.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of different people in. Don't remake stuff and then change the sex. Higgins now has a vagina and is having sex with Magnum. That's not Magnum PI. That's bullshit.
Make it another show and have the same
just
characters.
A grumpy old man, but it really pisses me off when they remake stuff and then they put their new Hollywood spin on things, their woke spin on how they do things.
What color it is, as long as it's good. Yeah. Like if they
well-written script, good act. Black Panther is one of my favorite. They're so well done.
Yeah,
I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're from Africa. I can give a crap less, and most people don't. No. Write good freaking scripts. Get good actors.
I don't care if they're a woman superhero.
I was very sad when Chadwick Boseman died.
Oh yeah.
He was awesome. That was Black Panther.
Yep.
I don't want anyone else to replace
The first Wonder Woman I thought was great. I love the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then they decided to crap all over it.
No, they never did what they should have done, which is make another Superman.
Instead of remaking my childhood and pissing all over it, make your own childhood and then put whoever you want in it, and I'll watch it if it's good. Just stop pissing on my childhood.
Just be creative and let creatives be creative.
Let Magnum lie. Let it lie. It's perfect.
Yeah, you don't need to make Quantum Leap and can't be a white dude. At least that makes more sense. I think he's more Asian.
Yeah.
I've only seen trailers too, but I refuse to watch it because after I gave Magnum PI a try and I went, oh my God, what a bunch of crap.
I haven't watched any of them, but the other one has had good reviews. Better than Magnum.
Quantum Leap?
Yeah. That has had pretty good reviews.
I don't know.
But, I just mean I don't care.
There's a lot of creative people out there.
It's like, okay, least now they're starting to piss on everybody's 90s memories. Like we went through a generation where we're going to take every good show from the 80s and pee all over it. Yeah. Oh, by the way, now we've aged out of that. Hollywood's aged out of pissing on our thing, and now they're going to piss on the 90s. And in another couple of years, they'll start remaking things from the aughts and piss all over that. But anyways, we got to wrap that up because where else are we going to go?
We'll end off with one of the reasons Brad's list lost. This was number 3 on mine. Did it even make an honorable mention on yours?
Yeah.
All right. So it was honorable mention. It was number 3 on mine. Airwolf. So I really enjoyed this episode.
Airwolf 12.
I enjoyed making this list. It brought back a lot of memories.
Now we have
something
to do
like this in the future.
We have to do another list in the future of 80s cartoons.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we'll both be right along.
We'll be. Yeah. I'm sure our first 3 will be about the same. But there's some pretty.
There's some ones that I like that you may be surprised I liked.
I'm sure. Well, I was shocked with Golden Girls.
Yeah. Golden Girls is great. I watched that up through. I haven't watched it in a while, but I used to watch that through the 90s and early 2000s.
I'm going to do one last thing, and then we got to go. Right. I'm going to be like, all right, my name's Casey. This is my number 1 show for cartoons. The show was awesome. Care Bears. Thank you. And I would have been like, yeah! They had jelly bellies.
No Care Bears. You know what the one that probably surprised you? Do you remember The Littles?
Yes! We are the Littles.
I love that show.
Yeah, that's a good show. But I don't consider
You're always scared they're going to get caught.
I looked in my vents.
That was a great show. And that's not one people think about.
No.
Like the Saturday morning TV shows were so big back. That was
it.
Why were frosted cereals everywhere? Because of Saturday morning TV shows. We had to have our Lucky Charms or Frosted Flakes, and we had to watch eat 2 or 3 bowls and watch.
We're gonna go. You wind me up.
All right, we're out. We're done. We're done. We will talk about this on a future episode.